right, Brandon, let's finish with one last use case. How would sales ops teams use Alchemer and Alchemer workflow to better understand customer churn?
Sure. So actually, Alchemer can help you better understand churn by listening to that voice of the customer and taking very specific and targeted actions to retain those at-risk customers. So as we've talked about today, it's very important for us to make sure that as we win business and win more business, that we onboard those customers successfully. And as you continue to develop and nurture that relationship with your customers, what we tend to find is there's a moment in time during that entire journey where things don't always go right. And that can lead to churn. And so one of the things that most organizations are facing is that pressure to retain their customers. So most organizations probably have some type of customer retention program. But what happens is that the data is sitting in feedback silos or with a centralized team that actually isn't responsible for customer retention. And that information doesn't end up in the systems that those teams use. And so they can't actually take meaningful action. So this challenge is not just asking customers about their experience, about key moments in their journey with your company, but most importantly, taking action that will drive down and reduce customer churn. So with Alchemer, sales ops, customer success teams, customer onboarding teams, they can build feedback programs that provide key insights for different groups and different departments to quickly take action. These teams use Alchemer to collect feedback from customers that are likely to churn. And this feedback signals which accounts are most likely to stay with your company and helps these frontline teams take the right actions to prevent the loss of customers.
That's great. That's such an important thing for companies to think about as they're building those customer relationships. All right, Kathy, can you give us a little bit more information and dig in and show us how Alchemer workflow can really be used to better understand potential customer churn?
Sure. So when you have a potential churn event, there are a couple important goals to keep in mind. One, how can we understand exactly why the customer is churning? And this is, again, when it's really important to hear in the customer's own words so that you can identify whether the customer is savable. And if they are, of course, you want to act really quickly to try to save that customer. So like in the previous use cases we looked at, a key part of understanding why a customer might churn is hearing from them in their own words. So with Alchemer, as soon as a customer is identified as a risk, so that event happens in your CRM or Salesforce, we can send a request for feedback to that customer, and that information again gets routed back to that central source of truth. If the feedback is something that can be acted on, you want to reach out to the right person in the channel that they're most likely to respond in and see that message. So in this case, we're using Slack as an example. And with those logic conditions that we saw in Alchemer workflow, you can quickly route the feedback to where it needs to go without having to look through that customer response and parse through that. So we can automatically set conditions to say, if the customer is churning potentially because of these reasons, we want to act on that feedback. Along with these notifications that go out to the customer account manager, we want to make sure that we're driving actions in the systems that they're working in so they can quickly follow up with the customer. And I mentioned earlier that delay capability in Alchemer workflow. This will let you essentially continue to follow up at the appropriate intervals until action is taken. And you can also set up an escalation process where, for example, if there's no action taken in a timely manner, it goes then to the next level up in the organization. So what are the outcomes that you see from setting up this process with Alchemer? First, by acting quickly on the feedback from your customers at risk, you give your sales team the opportunity to reach out to that customer in a timely manner and hopefully save them from churning. And then regardless of the outcome, the real customer feedback is always super valuable to your organization to help you build out targeted improvements to your product. And also, customers want to know that you're listening to them and listening to the feedback that they take the time to give you. So when you address their concerns in a timely manner, you can boost overall customer satisfaction for current and future customers.